start with the call. Roll call. All right, over here with our two reps.
O'Shea, Marlboro, Sue Bradley, Marlboro,
Chris Holstead, Hebron. Joe O'Connor, Hebron.
Amy Demonio, Hebron.
David Castanian, Andover.
Jane Neal, business manager. Harriet Coletta, board clerk.
Next we're going to do the pledge of allegiance. The flag is at the back of the I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a lot of people here today, so we're going to do public comments. Please remember to announce your name and the town you're from, and try to keep everything under 3 minutes. We have a pretty big agenda today, so with that, I'll call for any public comments. Okay.
Dick Shea, Marlboro, member of the Board of Selectmen, and actually speaking as an informal representative of the Marlboro Board of Finance, as I thought one of their guys would be here tonight, but they all chickened out, so here I am. This is a letter that they voted unanimously at their last meeting to send to the Rham board. I'll just read it in detail. At the Marlboro Board of Finance meeting on Wednesday, May 10th, 2017, the board members passed a resolution asking that I, that being Doug Knowlton, our chairman, write a letter to the Rham Board of Education expressing the opinion that a significant reduction is necessary in the Rham budget for fiscal year 2017-18. The reason for this reduction is to share the impact of the proposed state revenue reductions across all components of the town's budget. The greatest reduction is in the educational cost-sharing amount, which the town uses to help pay both Rham and local school costs. Our local Board of Education operations budget was quite lean at only a 1.44% increase. The likelihood is that it will need some further reduction. The town operations budget will also likely need further reduction. At the currently proposed amount of $28,863,321, a 2.96% increase, the Rham increase greatly exceeds that of the local school budget increase percentage. Since Rham is part of the overall educational system for our children, we feel that Rham should bear a share of the impact of the state's revenue reductions. Otherwise, the impact can only be borne by the local budgets. Citizen feedback at our meetings was clear that a substantial tax rate increase will not be accepted. Without Rham becoming part of the reduction solution, the reductions will need to be made solely with the local school and town budgets. At 37% of the overall budget, Rham accounts for considerably more than the mill rate increase, than the entire local budgets. Of course, the state revenue reductions account for even more than that. In light of the state's revenue reductions, we would suggest that the Rham budget not exceed a 1.5% increase. Between that and some further reductions in the local budgets, we might arrive at a tax rate that will be acceptable to the voters. Our concern is that without a significant reduction in the Rham budget, we will need to reduce the town and local education budgets to an unacceptable levels to reach a tax rate that will be low enough for the voters to approve. Simply, reducing the elementary school budget to be able to pay for the high school budget does not help either school. And it's signed Doug Knowlton, Chairman, Marlboro Board of Finance. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
I wish to speak. Good evening. My name is, and I have a prop, but it's important. My name is Joseph Wassel. I'm a current Rham parent of a senior who was involved in athletics for 3 years, and also a freshman who's currently not involved in athletics. And I do have a 10-year-old who's at Hebron Elementary, who one day might be involved with Rham athletics. And I want to be clear, I do not expect my children to be high-level athletes, but I do expect proper facilities in the building and outside the building for my children who attend Rham. Okay? Now, here's my quick story regarding this. September 2014, taking my son to school, he takes this out of our house. He's getting in the car, and dropping him off. I'm saying, where are you going with this? This is ours. This belongs to us at home. Well, he said, the one in the weight room is broken. Doesn't work. How long has it been broken for? Since the spring of 2014. So in spring it was broken, summer workouts it was broken. Finally in the fall, he said he could take it to his own powers and take ours. So open house was shortly thereafter. I spoke with someone at open house. I was told the funding wasn't there. Whether it was there or not, I don't know. So I went and bought one for $10. The one currently in the weight room is the one that I bought. That's being used there. So for whatever reason, whether it's the funding or the lack of attention towards the weight room, which could be used by students and student athletes, not only athletes, I think it's inappropriate. Now, I think everyone would agree that health and wellness is important for the community at large, for everyone here, and for the youth that are in this building, that attend this school, right? So it's my belief that education happens in these halls and education happens out in the field. And it's oftentimes forgotten about the athletics and the education that happens outside the building that goes on out there. And I think that gets lost sometimes. So I just expect appropriate funding for athletics as well as the school programs within the building. I voted yes. I'm going to continue to vote yes. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else have a speak?
Hi, good evening. My name is Suzanne Poudre. I'm from Hebron. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the retention of the athletic funds and the Rham budget. I won't reiterate or repeat many of the arguments for these funds. As a board, you've thought enough of them to include in your original budget. I understand why such a small percentage of the budget has become such a flashpoint, but I urge you to resist the effort to cut this funding. I suspect you are at a point in your deliberations where you must decide between what you believe is right and what will actually pass. I believe your original budget was right, and I believe it will pass. Voters did not send a clear message last referendum. The vote was close, and the turnout was embarrassingly low. Anyone who has been around in local politics know that there are a certain amount of no votes for almost any referendum. Yes votes, as they often are, were unorganized and less committed to going to the polls. Since that time, I have seen a groundswell of support from voters who have been informed about the impact a relatively small amount of money would have on our athletics. Again, I don't want to repeat many of the arguments you may hear tonight and in past meetings, but as a mom of an incoming freshman and another not too far away from high school, I cannot begin to describe what a positive impact sports have had on our family, in our schools, and in our community. Please do not cut these funds. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. It's an open letter to you, board. Could you state your name and get it down? My name is Terry McManus, 169 North Street, Hebron. Thank you. I've expressed some of these thoughts over the last few months, and I don't really wish to take up any more of your time. But with the deteriorating fiscal situation we find ourselves in, I thought it important to take a more formal approach. That's this open letter. Earlier this year, I was very impressed with the superintendent of Rams when he presented a budget showing expected expenditures and revenues. I thought this action appropriate, and one that would give you, board members, holding a fiduciary duty to the citizens of our town, are responsible for the education of our children, necessary data to make fitting decisions while devising the forthcoming budget. Now, with worsening state deficit projections, Hartford Research being bankruptcy, the governor sending out layoff notices, and absolutely no information coming from the legislature on how they are going to balance their budget. I find the disappearance of the original budgetary assumptions ominous. The 2016 valuation showed that the value of the grand list of the town of Hebron had shrunk over 4% since 2011. The data seemed to suggest that starter and mid-range homes, those homes bought by young families, are losing value along with base demand. Larger homes purchased or built by growing families, are increasing in value. But overall gains for these larger homes are less than what would be expected
in an economically healthy community. I believe the ever-increasing tax burden being placed on the citizens of this town is one of the topics fueling our negative growth. As I see it, our problem is twofold. Even in light of the declining fiscal health of our community, our current RAM budget continues to grow. And we have absolutely no idea whatsoever as to what revenues are going to come in from the state, thus leaving the community unsure as to what the true property tax burden will be. With this in mind, I respectfully request the RAM Board of Education to present a budget that represents a reduction in force as experienced in the middle schools, and with zero increase in all line items not contractually held hostage. In other words, zero growth of this is called for by contract. And that we postpone the presentation of our budget, your budget, for referendum until the state has passed their budget. Thank you.
I'm Jake Wheeler from Hebron. I'm currently in 8th grade at the middle school at Rham, and I'm in support of Rham athletics. I've been an athlete for almost my whole life, and it's had like a positive effect on me and many people around me, like my brothers. Sports, they can like not only like it's healthy for you, but it can be a motivation to get good grades. It teaches you teamwork, leadership, like how to cooperate with your peers. It's just a really important thing. It gives you lots of values that you can use later on in life. And I think that athletics at Rham should be supported and should continue to like keep going. I'm going to be a freshman next year, and I plan to try out for the Rham basketball team. And if that's affected by this doesn't go through, then that would be like devastating to me because I like playing basketball. And yeah, I think it's important. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Traverse. Live in Marlborough. I'm also the first selectman of Marlborough. We just got this afternoon at about 4 o'clock, and I've been in meetings since, we just got the new governor's proposals. Marlborough alone is being cut $1.3 million. Without Rams, without concessions by Ram, Marlborough and Marlborough Elementary cannot do it. We cannot absorb a $1.3 million in cuts, period. So, thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else like to speak?
Hi, Teresa Bryce-Gell, Marlborough, Connecticut. I haven't heard the latest about the governor's proposals. I don't know if that's in writing, like that's what we are getting cut, or if that's just the proposal, which we've had a million proposals. So I'm not sure. I'm not up to date, so I apologize for that. But I do want to say that we want to look at the big picture. And I think that for many years, Rham Athletics has been underfunded, horribly underfunded. And I can't say that like necessarily that in another department. I think academics are so strong at Rham. The music program is so strong. We should be proud of that. It's award-winning. The drama program is awesome. And we have so many things to be proud of. But I do, speaking from a family of children who are athletes, a husband who's an athlete, having played athletics, softball and sports in high school myself, I look at this school compared to what I had in high school, and athletics is horribly underfunded. I know the timing may not be great, but when is the timing right? I want to read the last sentence of Rham's core value statement. It says, we work with families and community members to support the personal, academic, and career development of every student. The academic development's there, the career development, I'm sure that's there. But the personal development, part of personal development is walking around with a sense of self-esteem, walking around with a sense of pride, developing characteristics of leadership. And a lot of that can be taken from sports. And I'm going to tell a brief story about a child that's not mine, I was in the guidance office, and this is several months ago, and in walked a boy who I have seen play football and other sports for years, because sometimes he's on my kids' team, sometimes he's not, sometimes they played against him. This kid's an outstanding athlete. I think he's had a lot of other issues in his life, maybe not the strongest academically, but this kid is a great athlete. He's strong, he's fast, he's awesome football player. And this kid was so upset when he walked into the guidance office that even though the guidance officer did all the appropriate things, closed the door, talked, I couldn't hear her voice, I could hear his voice throughout the whole office. And what he was yelling about, I can only imagine what she said to him is something to the fact that he had to find other things more constructive to do at his time. And at the top of his lungs, he's yelling, you know what I do? I played football. That's what I did. And I was good at it. I played for years and I was really good at it. And I came to Rham and high school football was a joke. Then she said something back, and I don't know what it was, because again, I could hear that side of the conversation. And what he yelled, I want you to think about before you erase completely and increases, is what he yelled was, Rams failed me. You failed me. This is not made up. I'm sure anybody who works in this in Rham could go into the high school guidance office and ask if this conversation occurred. I think it was around November, maybe December. That's what I'm talking about. That's the sense of, I saw that boy be very confident, maybe even have a little too much swagger to be saying that that he was failed, because he wasn't a kid that was going to get that sense of pride in the classroom necessarily. So.
Thank you. Somebody else like to speak? No?
Thank you. My name is Mel Liker. I'm a Hebron resident also. I happen to be a member of and chairman of the Hebron Board of Finance. I've been asked by a constituent to read a letter, so I want this to be very clear that this is not my position necessarily, but it is one of the residents of Hebron. It's from Michael Morris, and he says to the Rham Board of Education members. First, thank you for doing a completely thankless volunteer job. I truly appreciate your time and your effort. My name is Mike Morris. I've lived in Hebron for 15 years. One daughter, Marina S., has gone all the way through to graduation in Hebron Rham school system. She was the class of 2016. And have two sons still in the Hebron Rham school system. Regarding the argument not to approve the Rham Board of Education recommended budget, this is a very short-sighted and dangerous view for our community and our kids for a few reasons. We are in the middle of an opioid epidemic. Keeping our kids constructively active is incredibly important. And if you think our good kids are safe from this, I can introduce you to a number of parents in our community and neighboring communities who are great people, who are great parents with great kids whose children are lost to this scourge or death. Don't think this can't happen. Sadly, it can, and it is. Reducing our financial commitment to improving our sports facilities, support, and opportunities will only contribute to the problem. Second, we can't cut our way out of this financial crisis. Our community population tax base is condensing because people are moving away. The only way we can increase the tax base and spread the costs is by attracting new residents. New residents with kids or planning to have kids will evaluate our schools. A school system with a terrible reputation for cuts to the extracurricular activities like sports programs is an immediate discriminator. We have to grow our way out of the financial crunch. Cutting won't move the needle. It's just a financial death spiral. Finally, I've coached in Rham school system and in the Colchester school system, and the difference couldn't be more clear and unfortunate for Rham. In Colchester, the superintendent, the school board, the principals, and the community residents with and without kids are incredibly supportive of the athletic program. They partner to do everything they can to provide a great sports experience, and they can to kids. Some paid for some fundraise, some in a partnership with not-for-profit youth programs, but all working together, collaborative, and fully supported as a critical element of the academic experience. Many kids are solely motivated to excel in school for the purposes of competing. We'd lose those kids to the drugs or crime, or costly social programs because of their lack of education, and success breeds and attracts success. Well-funded school programs attract our best administrators, staff, teachers, coaches, volunteers, fans, and most of all, opportunities to our kids. We will never cut our way out of this. We need to have the courage and resilience to make the Rham school system the premier, complete education that drives new potential residents, taxpayers' decision to move here. Short-term pain for long-term gain. Sincerely, Mike Morris, 34 Hearthstone Drive, Hebron. That's that's the letter from Mr. Morris. And I agree with everything he said there. As the chairman of the Board of Finance, however, with these new increases to the debt of our towns provided by the state, I attended a meeting in Hartford on Thursday, and it was just disgusting. People were very civil to each other, and they just played politics. We're a long way away from the budget, and at this point now, with the governor's new proposal, and with the Republicans and Democrats both coming out with budgets tomorrow, new budgets tomorrow, we have no idea where we are. I wouldn't ask you to cut a specific number. I would ask you to please look closely at your entire budget, and if there's anything that you can reduce, please do. Thank you.
Daniel Larson, 147 Hope Valley Road, Chairman of the Hebron Board of Selectmen, speaking as an individual. I caution the board, all these are great programs. Nobody is saying they're not. Sports is important, nobody is saying it's not. But please understand, with the dire straits that the state is in, they're going to offload more and more costs, more and more expenses onto the local taxpayers. I remember when Rham went through 14 referendums before they got a budget. This coming budget is going to be just before the letting out of school. When parents are around, if it goes down this time and you end up going after summer break, who are your voters? Be cognizant of the people that turn out to vote. A lot of people here are very passionate. Not saying they're right, not saying they're wrong, but so far, they haven't gotten the votes out to get this thing passed. So I'm saying balance. Balance between all needs, come up with a reasonable, affordable budget, something that all of the towns can support. And I wish you well.
Thank you. Somebody else like to speak?
Ethan Spelling, Marlboro. Between all the doom and gloom of budget, I'd like to interject a bright spot. One of our high school students, Skylar Haynes, is having a fundraiser this Friday, and I'd like to remind the board, she's raising money for schools in Mexico. You might have seen her story in the River East a few months back. I just wanted to, told her I'd help her out any way I can, so this is a plug for her. If you're around Friday night, she's raising money for schools in Mexico over at the Gilead Hill Church in Hebron. Few teachers are volunteering our time to help her out. I volunteered before she actually told me what I'd be doing. Apparently for a donation, people can line up to throw a wet sponge at my face. Figured I'd been in district long enough, I could probably raise a bunch of money for her. A lot of people probably willing to do that. So if you'd like to get back at me in any way, at least you can be helping out a deserving cause. And in all the talk about academics and athletics, it's good to remind us that the important things that students like Skylar that come out of Rham they always amaze me, thinking so globally and willing to put in time and effort to raise money. So anything we can do as a community to support her, I know she would really appreciate it. So
What time is that?
I believe it starts at 6 o'clock. I know it's been in the River East for a few weeks now, but definitely a worthwhile cause. So. I'll be there if you'd like to throw something at me. Please show up. Thank you.
Thank you. Would somebody
Yeah, I won't be offended, it's okay.
Sean Haggerty, 42 Joel Drive, resident of Hebron, parent of a graduate, parent of a soon-to-be graduate, parent of a junior. But I'm here primarily to speak as a Rham coach. First, thank you all for your service. I know how hard it is to volunteer. I volunteer a lot of other things, so especially where all you ever get are slings and arrows, I know how hard it is. Thank you also for the support that you've shown the athletic programs. In particular, I'd like to say I'm the softball coach. Our softball field is bar none the best that we play on. And that effort was not only run by Rham, but parents and volunteers who work tirelessly to get that better. And I'm proud to say that we like to show it off. Last year we got to host a couple state tournament games. Had a couple private schools from other parts of the state came up, got to see our facilities. I believe that athletics are very important for Rham. I believe they're very important for the brand. I think it elevates the town, the towns that we live in. I believe it elevates the community. We've heard a lot of talk about athletics or academics. We heard the word balance. I think that's important as well. On the softball team, there's 12 girls. 6 of the 12 are currently in the National Honor Society. 2 of those will soon graduate. They'll be replaced by 2 sophomores who will be inducted. They're involved in other activities. They take advantage of extracurricular activities throughout the school. They work hard. What athletics offers them is the balance of other things than the academics, teamwork, leadership, problem solving. Very, very important, I think, that you have both. And I don't think cutting it is going to be a solution. Finding the funds, I understand, is difficult. Fundraising, other ways. But very, very important. These girls are great students. I'm sure all the other coaches will tell you similar stories. Please keep that in mind when you're making these difficult decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else like to speak?
Frank Olkowski, my wife Julie from Marlboro, 6 Mossing Drive. We have 2 sons not in the high school system yet, one in middle school and one in elementary. Both have been participating in sports since kindergarten and up, whether it be solely in Marlboro or in joint Rham youth programs such as wrestling, lacrosse, football, and we are both in support and also speak for several others who can make it tonight from Marlboro that the budget without any cuts that's a lot of fun. Can't tell you the value of being part of a coach for your program for 8 years, how much it's influenced kids and brings the community together, and I know that it's a big part of what we've been through and hopefully in a good program in the years coming through the high school program as well. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
Vin Colonna from Hampstead, Connecticut. I echo the sentiments of the balance that was spoke of before. And, you know, this word reasonable keeps coming out. And, you know, just looking in the River East, you know, I see an operational budget increase in Marlboro of 3.5%. You know, Hebron's touted their 0% operational budget. That's on top of a almost $400,000 Hebron Elementary School surplus that they were given. So if you factor in those numbers, you're really talking about over a 1% increase in the operational budget for Hebron. And again, 3.5% for Marlboro. Jeff Murray from the Board of Finance and Andover asked for a 0% increase. I guess he's gonna tell the special ed families and their children that we're not gonna support special ed at Rham. And again, taking into account that 2% increase for special ed programs, you're now talking about a 0.96% increase in operational budget for a $28 million budget. Is that reasonable? I think it's reasonable. You know, when you look at the other increases, you know, in some of the other budgets, 0.96% is a reasonable amount, you know, moving forward. And, you know, I don't think any of the student-athlete population or their families are looking for a handout. As a matter of fact, if you look at the revenue generated from athletics, from pay-to-play, the families are also paying to come in to watch their kids play sports. The grandparents are paying, the community members are paying. I saw a lot of younger people come to watch basketball games, come to watch volleyball games, come to watch football games. at the school. They're paying to get in. All of these sports, all of these teams do fundraisers. It seems like every other week I'm going to a fundraiser or getting solicited by a team or a sport or organization trying to raise funds. If you look at that and add that up, and I'm not sure, that's a lot of money. My estimate was probably over $150,000 that's generated in revenue for the programs. That's revenue that's coming into the school from all these parents, from these students. These students are the ones going out there and fundraising for this program. So again, I'm here to talk for them. I'm here to speak on their behalf. What's their fair share? You know, after coming up with $150,000 to put into the budget, what's a fair share? What do they deserve? And I think they deserve to have good programs. People mentioned other schools. We're going to get into researching what all the other schools are doing and bringing that before the board. But I can tell you right now, we're at the bottom or near the bottom between facilities, between coaches, between programs, you know, between pay to play. There's a lot of schools, a lot of high schools out there that don't have pay to play. Their students and families are not being asked to contribute toward athletics. So please take that into account, and I appreciate your work.
Thank you. Somebody else like to speak? Okay. Number 4 on the agenda is additions and changes to the agenda. Does anybody have anything? Carol?
It looks as though we may have to add something to approve going to district meeting for the HVAC. I don't see it on here unless Dr. Saminsky can enlighten us. We have,
That has to be it.
okay, that has to be added then. I'd like to add to the request of the district meeting for the high school classroom HVAC.
12.1 or Thank you, sir. Your second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8.6, close the discussion, public meeting. Okay. Agenda item 5.1, request for the district meeting. HVAC.
Okay, I'm requesting that the clerkship response to the 15-16 budget. I'm requesting that the funds from the 15-16 budget through a district meeting be allocated to fix HVAC units in 4 rooms.
Can you remind me how much that is?
It's, the budget is about $153,000.
The HVAC is 150,000? 153,000? And this money is already,
It's from the surplus for the 15-16 budget.
can I ask another question? Is this going out to bid? Is this a bid that you have?
We would have to contract with an engineer for engineering services, and then once the specifications are completed, go out to bid for the work. The units would have to be constructed. I don't anticipate the work being done for probably till sometime next summer by the time all this stuff.
So this is an estimate?
That's an estimate.
questions? Sure, why don't you ask, because we've been explaining to you. So you move to have questions, answer questions, right? That's what we can do? Okay.
Yeah, well, I asked for a motion before we go to questions. That the motion for 8.6 was for the budget, wasn't necessarily for the HVAC issue.
So,
No, that's not correct.
We're looking for a district meeting for the HVAC, and
Right,
that's
HVAC
for
is different.
8.6.
I mean, it could be handled at the same meeting, I guess. Can it be handled at the same meeting, Don, or do we have,
We can handle it, one would be at 6:50, the other would be at 6:30.
so you need a separate meeting?
I'm sorry, I'm not clear.
It's a public
You need to have a
address.
separate- You need to have a separate district meeting to cover the use of the 15-16 surplus.
But we're not-
Different than the one you just, for 8.6 is for the budget. It's the budget.
Did you say HVAC? No, it was HVAC.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was for the budget.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
I misunderstood.
Can we get
It's
the
an action
numbers?
item. I don't know that, no. So, Dr. Saminsky, does it need to be an action item, or can we do it right now?
It has to be, you have to vote on it to have a district meeting.
Right.
And we're asking for two district meetings, one for the budget and one for the HVAC. The district meetings would be held 15 minutes apart, so that the topics could be voted on and could be addressed and then voted on. And one would be, as I said, for the HVAC, the other one would be for the budget.
You're saying the 15th?
I'm sorry?
16th? The 15th was the date?
The 15th, and one of the reasons we need to keep to that schedule for the budget is because, what was it,
Let's not go in that.
1051 indicates that we have to have a referendum every 4 weeks on the budget.
Okay, so, right now, I think we're just talking about the HVAC,
Yeah.
correct?
What is the exact dollar value?
About 153,000.
What's the exact dollar?
I'd have to go back to the orders. With me.
Okay, so we can't do this until we have the dollar value.
Is 153 is sufficient?
No.
We don't know if
Right
we
now,
have 153 or if it's 152, 684.
Oh, you just, not the cost of HVAC, you're wondering how much
We
the
have to make
surplus
We
is
have to
over.
transfer a dollar amount.
Okay.
So usually we transfer the surplus.
And I always thought that the surplus was transferred at the district meeting, if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
We just need to know.
Correct, but don't we have to announce it that we're transferring a certain dollar amount?
As I remember, no, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we gotta have the right number.
So, how much is the HVAC cost? Was that the 153?
That was the estimate.
Is that the No, I'm curious, is the HVAC cost 153,000, or what is the surplus amount?
It's about 153,000.
So they're both the same?
Approximately. I don't know exactly what the price is going to be, because what we did was we got some ballpark prices from engineers, and contractors never put their exact number on the street because the competition would see it. Therefore, what we do is we use a ballpark number so that it allows the process to begin. We can hire an engineer, we'll draw the specifications, we'll go out to bid, award a bid, and then the work will begin once it's completed. Mrs. Neal was just going to get the exact number.
Sure.
Dave, can the audio system be turned up? Or can't hear you? I mean, Dr. Saminsky was fine when he spoke into the mic, but,
Okay.
can you hear? Yeah, but you have to talk into the mic.
No, I don't think ours is on. We'll just.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to table this until Jane comes back?
budget review.
Just to update the board, when we received a copy of the governor's budget this afternoon, we started to take a look at it, and I think one of the highlights is that there's a reduction in excess cost of about $500 million. ECS, the excess cost grant is eliminated, so that has an implication for the current budget. We had budgeted about $608,000 for excess costs in special education. That's going in the governor's budget. And he adds a new category called special education aid. So that if you do kind of a net-net, we're looking at probably a $2 million reduction. Because if you look at the total for 3 towns is about $4.5 million, and the new special ed aid is about $2.2 million. So that obviously subtracting one from the other, that's where I get that number. So that's the governor's budget. Remembering that the legislature will be introducing 2 versions of the budget tomorrow, and the negotiations will begin.
So what your estimate is from,
What I'm doing is just updating you on the information I got from the governor's budget, and noting that the budgets from the Republicans and Democrats in the legislature will be forthcoming tomorrow. And then all 3 parties will hopefully sit down and conclude negotiations rapidly.
I have a number of questions, so how do you want us to proceed with that?
go around?
Thank
You want to go around the horseshoe like we normally do, start with Carol? Second question?
Is that 608 what you had in
It's
originally
within,
and then
it's
took out?
within the current, it's what is within the current budget for excess cost.
Sure. So on page 64 through 67 is the ECS cost, and the SPED cost, is that what you're giving the numbers to?
Are you speaking of the governor's budget?
The governing proposal?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where these numbers are coming from again. So based upon those 2 pages, there's a delta of 700 grand to Hebron, 565 to Marlboro, and 193 to Andover for ECS. Is that what you're talking about?
We just use Andover as an example because they're.
Sure. So according to the Andover one, there was a $193,000 reduction in ECS and a $58,000 reduction in SPED.
No, that's not the number that.
And
The
what
SPED
pages are they on?
grant is a new grant. It was not part of anything. If you look at page 62, you can see in 2017, Andover's grant for ECS was $2.3 million. The original governor's recommendation in FY18 was $1.3 million. His second recommendation was $1.3 million, and then his last one is $1.1 million.
Where is that found in this document?
Page 62 at the top of it.
62. Then what is on 64 to 65 for SPED?
The 64 is the governor's, is where the Marlboro is. Marlboro's reduction for, if you look at the ECS grant for Marlboro in 2017, it was 3.1. I can show you a copy.
Okay, so I'm saying here, the PDF version has different numbers than the printed copy. So on 62, on the printed version, your Andover numbers, and so I'm trying to 62, right, your Andover numbers, which have your education, ECS, and your special ed. So I'm trying to figure out where this other special ed number is you're talking about.
I'm not sure, because what I did is if you look at page 43,
43 of printed copy.
A printed copy.
Thank you.
Page 43 indicates, they show that the ECS grant is going to be reduced from 2.017 to 1.150.
But this is a general number. I'm into the specifics of each.
Okay, I just want to say, that's the section I got the numbers from.
Okay, but I'm looking at the ECS and SPED numbers. Those will be the numbers that we give in each town on pages 62, 63, 64.
That's correct.
Okay, so I get a reduction of 193,000 for Andover on ECS and a 58,901 for SPED.
That runs totally contrary to what I did is I received a copy of the document. I printed it. I'll be happy to share my copy with you. And that's where I got the numbers from. In fact, here, let me bring it to you.
I got a point of order. How is this relative to our budget discussion?
That's what I'm trying to find out. What does this number mean?
It doesn't mean anything. It's a proposal by the
Yeah,
government.
I understand that.
Right, two other proposals coming tomorrow, so we have to move on.
Okay, fine. I'll read that, but thank you.
I got that at the last minute this afternoon.
Yep.
Page 42.
I understand that. I got it now. So this budget is another proposal, Brian, that has different numbers than what we're before.
Those are the ones the governor had given us. He revised his proposal. And my understanding was we were going to get proposals from both the House and both the legislative Democrats and Republicans so that they could forge a compromise of sorts.
Okay, so we have no numbers that we can go on right now.
No, I just wanted to make you aware.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make you aware of what the governor had said, what the governor was proposing, and then we can see where the other numbers take us.
Fine. We're good. I'm good, because we have no numbers we can go on.
Did anybody else have any other questions for Bob on that? Bottom two? All right, let's revisit 5.1. And the surplus number is?
$155,372.
I'll make a motion.
Good.
I'll make a motion that we call a district meeting for the purpose of moving $155,372 from our unspent 15-16 surplus funds to the capital fund for the express purpose of the HVAC as we discussed.
You have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I did have one question, Bob. I thought this work was going to be happening this summer.
It's just a time frame because the units are not readily available off the shelf. The engineer is going to have to prepare specifications. It's going to go out to bid, and then it will be awarded. If it can happen sooner, fine. But based on the experience we've had in the past, they have to make the units before they put them specifically for our needs.
They're customized, in other words. But that's going to be our goal, to try to get it done as soon as possible.
To get them done as soon as possible. And the only thing we have to be careful of is just occupancy of the building. Because just given where they are and what has to be done, it's best that they're done without people in the area.
Okay.
Can make a friendly amendment and add the May 15th date.
Sure. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay, all in favor of going to district meeting on May, June 15th, was that? Did you say? Okay.
I think for the audience's clarification, maybe we should specify what the problem is, what rooms we're identifying. We already identified the cost, it's an estimate, but Dr. Szymanski, I think it's important for the community to understand what we're spending this money on, as far as what the initial problem was, how long the problem's been around, and give a little bit of history on it, if you could, please.
There are 4 rooms. The issue with the 4 rooms was mold. The issue with the 4 rooms was mold. We've identified it through various studies. We've had reports of the facility subcommittee. And I just don't recall the rooms. If you give me a moment, I can find the rooms.
No, I don't, just talk about the
There were 4 rooms that are above each other that use 4 separate units. We looked at the units, we tried to modify them so that they would meet, so that they would address the issue. But we found out that to address each of the issues would be about $7,000, and the units are at their 15-year life. So it would be more efficient to replace the units and to address the dehumidification problem.
Could you state the issue that you're trying to?
The issue is mold in the classrooms.
Thank you. So, there's mold in the classroom. We've had a number of HVAC issues, and we had some retro commissioning done that addressed a lot of the issues. And they thought that the tuning of the HVAC system that's occurred over the past couple of years would correct those. So we had to go through a heating cycle, found that it was not addressed, and that's why they need to replace the units. Okay. All right. So we're on 5.1. Okay, we're on 5.1, and the when was that district meeting again?
May 15th.
May 30th.
Okay. So Rich's motion was to go to district meeting to allocate $155,372 from the 15-16 surplus to address the HVAC issue of the 4 classrooms. And all in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carries.
One extension.
Okay, 1 extension.
So 5.2.
5.3.
Budget status report.
I think that's what the topic is. James got some transfers and budget status report.
So how do you want to go first?
Everybody have one?
And then we come all the way across the end? It's all the same.
I'll just try to give a brief overview, seeing as assume everybody received in their information to share. When I was doing budget projection this past week, I recommended to Dr. Szymanski that we and I rewrite the numbers as of today. My goal was to get another payroll through the system and to really look through purchase orders and encumbrances and expenditures that had to do with special ed expenses. I was concerned because I was still projecting a deficit. And so we redid everything today. And at this state, I'm projecting a $47,000 deficit. And
you look on attachment 1 on the second page in, the first section shows all the line items by object. With the, currently on the system, the deficit's approximately $166,000. And then in the second section, it talks about encumbrances and pay and more items that we have to pay. Those items equal about $112,000. Everybody with me?
No.
Second page,
Second page,
of the memo.
attachment one, every column.
There's attachment 1.
Oh,
Okay. So, so in the middle section, this is where I estimate what we still have to encumber or what we still have to pay out. A good example is in the second column under employee benefits, $11,600. That's tuition reimbursement that we have to pay out at the end of the year for union contract for employees. So therefore, it's not something that can be encumbered because you don't know you're going to pay into the end of the year. So I take that into consideration that way. So similar to coaching, advisors, teacher subs, one of our big expenses this year is the sub account. We've had quite a few people who are out on leaves that are getting paid, and then on top of it, we're also paying a sub. And some of those subs are subs that are retired. So because they're retired, we have to pay them, am I correct, Bob, at the rate that they earned when they left? Is that how that works?
That's correct. Yeah,
For Tuesday.
because of requirements of teacher retirement.
So,
for long-term cover.
yes, yes. So some of these long-term subs are costing more than our normal long-term sub rate.
And some of them are specialized areas such as special education. That's the only time we've used those folks.
And then down in that third section where it says anticipated revenue, those are still items that we expect to bring money in. And under tuition, you'll see the excess cost and agency placement grant of $128,000. We know we're going to get that money, we haven't gotten it yet. They don't usually send it until about May. So, in essence, based on what's on the system, showing a deficit, what I think we're still going to spend, and then what we think we're going to bring in. At this point, it's a $47,000 deficit. So the plan of attack now is, we just did a budget projection. We're going to do a payroll in another week. I'll do another budget projection. So we'll do it every 2 weeks to try to also to look at purchase orders, and hopefully people can, as bills come in, we might be able to delete some items on those purchase orders. And so that's pretty much what I'll do from now to the end of the year. I usually do that internally to keep an eye on what's going on, and so that's my plan. So, but then, on top of that, attachment 2 are transfers. Now, you're aware that the last 2 sets of transfers were either not presented or voted on, so I started all over. And, well, I need, it's in there as under attachment 2, but Kathy printed up an extra set because these transfers need to be